What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining us on the after credit scene. Let's get into talking about episode 3 of Secret Invasion. But first, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share this thing all across the multiverse and help us get to 200 subscribers and beyond. There were a whole lot of things to like about this episode. We're going to get into my hot takes about what I thought about the episode compared to the other ones in just a little bit. But the episode kind of felt like it was over before it began. It was just a quick episode, but a lot of high points in it. Let's get to those high points, do a quick recap, and then we will talk through some of the implications and what that means and what we can expect moving forward. So right off the bat, we get a scene with Gravik and his Skrull Council as he is the newly installed General of the Skrulls, and we get him in his laboratory in his secret hideout there in one of those nuclear fallout areas, and he immediately drops the explanation of his grand plan, which is not just that we're going to wage war, but how he intends to win the war, which is not only to change their DNA as Skrulls are known to do, but to power up, so to speak, and to incorporate into their DNA superpowers. And he even drops the term Super Skrull. And a quick Google search of Super Skrull will show a wide variety of explanations and imagery and comics and all kinds of things you can sink your teeth into. So they talk about Super Skrulls. We got some of those indications from last episode with the information that Gaia got off of a computer screen with regard to what superheroes and powers that they are trying to grab hold of. And then if you watch some of the trailers and kind of connected the two ideas, we got a shot of Gravik kind of reaching out his arm, Mr. Fantastic style, but seemingly looking like some of Groot's powers in that regard. And so those kind of things are coming, and that part of the battle is definitely on its way. But dropped that pretty quick. Obviously, with a 6-episode run, you're going to have to get to some of these beats pretty quickly. And I actually like the pacing of these things when it comes to giving you the story, because they've really trimmed the fat, so to speak. There's no room for anything extra here or some kind of buildup. They put you right into the story. We get a flashback connected in part to the reveal from last episode that Nick Fury is married, and he is married to a Skrull as well. And if there was any indication as to whether or not he knew he was married to a Skrull, that should have been wiped away with this flashback in 1998 where Fury meets with his soon-to-be Skrull wife. Her Skrull name is Vara. When they get married, her name is Priscilla Fury. He calls her Scylla later on. But he clearly knows that she is a Skrull, and that face that she's wearing when he shows up to his house later on is the same face that she's wearing in 1998. And they have a conversation about the moral or the ethical implications of taking on a face that might belong to somebody else and how they do that. It's just a quick little back and forth there. But the interesting Easter egg is that Vara gives Fury some information on Dreykov, which you may know as the leader of the Red Room and the one responsible for what happens to Natasha and her sister in becoming Black Widows. And so some of that information probably ties a little more directly, especially with that 98 tie-in, to the events of Black Widow and what happens in her flashbacks and the things that happen there. So thought that was a nice little addition, and kind of speaks to Fury's network of Skrulls, which we'll get to as something that I think is kind of setting the stage for some things that are going to happen later. Real quick, the beats kind of come real fast, and after that, Gravik ends up questioning Gaia, wakes her up and asks her, how did this person know that? And how do, there's a traitor among us and we don't know who they are. And Gaia gives a really, kind of a stare down loyalty test answer to Gravik, saying, well, the guy that was interrogated, who we saw last episode being interrogated by Sonya, which is Olivia Colman's character, he could have given up a lot of information, or he could have taken an educated guess, and so on and so forth. And Gravik asks her what she would do, and she says, well, I would lie. And then they kind of have this stare down where Gravik is kind of testing whether or not he's going to believe her, and kind of putting forth a little bit of his gravitas, so to speak, almost as a threat without actually using words. And then that scene kind of moves forward. You get a little more of their plot there, where seemingly the rebel Skrulls, or the Gravik's Skrull forces, are going to infiltrate the Royal Navy and end up using a British submarine to shoot down a UN airplane that's overhead, seemingly starting another conflict and bringing England into some things and causing some other issues. As Gravik is having his conversation with Talos, because last episode Talos wanted to have a meeting. He asked for parley with Gravik. On their way to that meeting, Gravik seemingly let slip. We know later on that he did that intentionally, but he let slip some information about the submarine and about what's going on with that plot. And Gaia ends up passing that information along via burner phone to her father, and Fury and Talos take matters into their own hands and seemingly foil that plot by stopping the Skrull who is impersonating the British commander. They stop the launch of the missile and thwart that plan. In the midst of all that, there's some really great back and forth, not only between Fury and Talos, which we'll get to in a minute, but the parley between Gravik and Talos, where immediately I thought it felt very out of character at first, but I thought it was really telling how quickly Gravik seems very composed and stoic, and you can see that anger seething underneath. But as soon as he's in a room with Talos, as soon as he knows Talos is in the room, his vitriol, his anger, his pushiness and his punchiness, even when talking about the painting that he's looking at, you can tell he does not like Talos. He doesn't want to be in the same room with him, and the two have a real disgust for each other that is just brewing, that if they were in the room under any of those circumstances, they might end up going all out and killing each other. That scene is only amplified as they sit down. Gravik is pushing Talos intentionally, dangling Gaia over his head as though, I've got your daughter and you don't, and she's with me, and all these kind of things. Talos reacts as you would expect him to react, only for him to find out that they are surrounded by Skrulls, in presumably a show of Gravik's power to Talos, that you are not the man that you once were, and I'm in charge now. I thought it was a great back and forth that mirrored the back and forth between Rhodey and Fury in episode 2, where Fury has been constantly reminded, you're not prepared for this, you're not who you once were, you're not in charge, we've moved beyond you. You're either going to join this fight or you're going to get killed in the midst of it. Same thing with Fury, and Talos gets his moment right there with Gravik to kind of see that they're grasping at straws. And so it was interesting to see that in light of some things that happened later on. And then the conversations between Talos and Fury as they are driving towards the British commander's house to try to thwart this attack, and their back and forth and their frustration with each other is just continuing to brew. And it started out as this simple, where were you, my friend? You left for so many years, and let's try to solve this together, to Fury trying to take matters into his own hands, and Talos getting upset about that, and then they're not actually mad at each other so much as they're mad at the things they can't control, and needing each other, and Talos wanting Fury to fight for him, and Fury wanting Talos to fight for him, and them trying to come to some agreement there was very interesting back and forth, and the two actors played it off very well. Also, it wasn't just this angry back and forth, but you could tell that they still cared about each other. They were trying not to end up where they did last episode, which was one of them went one way, one of them went the other. They are trying to see reason and deal with each other, but it's very, very difficult. And so I like that friendship. I like that back and forth. that makes for some added layers to these characters, which I thought was really, really great. The one thing that was really awesome right there in the middle was that when Talos gets frustrated, he stabs Gravik in the hand, and we, as Talos leaves, we see Gravik pull his hand out from the knife, only to watch his hand heal back up with the extremis gene. And so I thought that was a very interesting nod to show that Gravik already has a little bit of different DNA in him, and that plan is already underway. So rather than trying to see all that happen, you're going to see the next evolution of that. And the assumption is that if he's already done that, that it might already be affecting, they may already have done something with some other Skrulls, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 3 episodes. After Gravik returns from his parlay, and the battle, the fight has been taken care of. The British ship has not shot down the UN ship. We see Gravik confront Gaia as she is trying to escape from the compound because her cover's been blown, only to see Gravik presumably shoot Gaia. Now, again, in Marvel, if you don't see somebody dead, they are not dead yet. I think it would be an interesting storyline to see Gaia actually die, although I would be very bummed that Emilia Clarke's character died so soon, that she was in 3 episodes and then she's gone. But I think it would be an interesting push for Talos to go full Nick Fury and to come over to Fury's side. And so that would be an interesting story, but given some of the things that we're going to talk about here towards the end and the things I want us to look out for in the next episodes, that might not be a possibility. So that leads us to the end of the episode where we see Fury's wife leave the house. She takes something with her. She goes and gets something out of a lockbox. She has a gun, and I'm assuming there's some other things in it that you didn't see also. And she calls and is trying to find Gravik. And so she may have a connection with Gravik. She may be working against Fury, but she also may be working for Fury, and they've concocted some plan that you don't know yet. Again, I am loving a lot of this. Are they, aren't they? Is she good? Is she bad? Are they good? Are they bad? Who's who? Are these actually humans? Are these actually Skrulls? You don't actually know. And I think we won't know until the very end. I would not be surprised if Fury has been running something the whole time, only to find out that there were some people who you thought were one way the whole time and they actually weren't. And so it'll be interesting to see. The reason I think that is they leaned very heavily into the last episode and this episode of reminding you that Fury has a network of Skrull spies. So how many of those people are still with Fury? How many of those people are still loyal to Fury? How many of those people, how many of those Skrulls are comfortable living on Earth the way that they're living and have been spies the whole time? That may be a good throwback. That may be an answer to what's going on with Gaia. Is she actually dead? Is she not? It might be the answer to what's going on with Fury's wife. We've seen one side of it. We've seen that Gravik has people in positions of power and he has people everywhere, but we've only gotten hints of it and discussions about it from Fury's side, that he has a network of Skrulls and people in positions everywhere as well. Who are they? Where are they? Has Talos been running that without Fury this entire time? And who is who? I think those reveals are going to be the bigger back and forth and the bigger kind of mind-warping moment where you have to go back and watch and see, was this way the whole time and who was who? And kind of, with some of the cloak and dagger stuff. Could be very, very interesting. I don't think Gaia is dead. I think she's too complex a character and too useful to be killed off that quickly, especially since they killed off one female character already in the same episode that they introduced Gaia. I don't think that Marvel makes that mistake twice within 3 episodes where they kill off 2 very strong female characters. I think something is up, and Storytelling 101 tells me that something is going on there that we have not seen yet. that we are not aware is going on, and it may be, it's something that's going to be revealed as some kind of in-game plan for Nick Fury. I think, yes, his time being snapped away affected him, but I think his time away since the blip, he has been scheming and planning and plotting, not only so that it doesn't happen again, but so that he is ready. I think the moment where he realizes he is fading away and he sends a message to Captain Marvel with the pager was not enough for the Nick Fury we know to be comfortable with leaving things the way they are. I think he is prone for revenge. I think he is ready to make sure that he doesn't just snuff out this particular threat, but he has a plan to take out things in the future as well. And so all of these pieces are still coming together. My hot take on this is that this episode out of the 3 was probably the weakest. It had some really big moments, but I still felt like we were putting some things into place, and it was what I would call the only filler episode, even though they stuck some really important moments in it. I think it was getting us to the grand plan. And episode 4 is usually known in Marvel episodes as some turning point, something that's going to get people talking, that's going to get people to tune in for episode 5, for episode 4 and 5, so that they can get you to the finale and let you see whatever the big reveal is. And so from a marketing standpoint, episode 4 tends to be the big episode, and I think we got some big stuff coming. And you'll see my thoughts on that in my prediction video that's going to be coming up in a couple of days, and how heavily I double down on what we can expect crazy Skrull-wise, spy thriller-wise from episode 4 and beyond. So I'm curious what you guys think. It was a good episode. I would say a 7 or an 8 out of 10 compared to the first 2 episodes, which were 8s or 9s in my opinion. But I'm curious what you guys think. Tell us in the comments below, like and subscribe to the channel, and please share this thing so that we can get more subscribers and reach a wider audience and have a lot more people join our fun. And then check out some of our other videos. You know, we got a lot of other stuff you can sink your teeth into. And as always, when the next one drops, we'll catch you right back here. Later, guys.